Again, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Wanted to take a moment to thank the Fire Safe Sonoma team for putting this together. We got Sydney, Claire, and Jenny all on making it happen behind the scenes today, so thank you guys. And then with that, anyone who is representing an agency or an organization, if you can change your name on Zoom to include your organization, that would be great, and we'd appreciate that. And then we want to keep these right around an hour, make sure we're being good about your time. So Genevieve's prepared to give us a presentation day and leave a little bit of time at the end of the session for questions and answers. So with that, my name is Ben Nichols. I'm your host for today's program. For those of you who might not know, Fire Safe Sonoma is your county-wide fire safe council and has been serving Sonoma County since 1997. We live stream this program at 2 o'clock on the fourth Thursday of every month, except for the month of December. You can find our past speaker series programs on our YouTube channel, and we're in our sixth season. So there's a lot of good information archived in there for you to check out at your leisure. Before we get started today, I want to thank Genevieve for presenting with us today. Just some general housekeeping on our community updates. Don't forget to check out the Fire Safe Sonoma calendar on our website for upcoming events and to stay in the loop and to subscribe to our updates through our Constant Contact program. Feel free to share any events you may be promoting with us, and we'll get them on our events calendar so we can share them with your community and surrounding communities for the great work that you're doing out there. And please let us know what you would like to see us present on in the upcoming year by completing the survey in the chat. This information is for you, and we want to make sure that it's pertinent and relevant to what it is you're looking to learn about. Last month, we had Battalion Chief Marshall Tuberville with the CAL FIRE Sonoma Lake Napa unit give us the 2026 wildfire season update. So if you missed that, you can find that on our YouTube channel to figure out what the tea leaves are showing for fire season 2026. Next month, we'll have DEM on, Department of Emergency Management, Daisy Vargas with the Department of Emergency Management to talk about alert and warning and evacuations. And summer is now in full swing, so we hope you kept up with our outlooks and our updates during Wildfire Preparedness Month during the month of May. And make sure if you haven't seen those or you haven't logged those away, take a look at our Instagram or Facebook page to get all of those tips that we had coming into fire season 2026. For today's speaker this month, we are pleased to be joined by Genevieve Tarino, a forestry project manager with the Sonoma RCD. She's going to talk us through today about the programs and initiatives that the Sonoma RCD has to assist property owners with maintenance and lowering of fire risk as it relates to the natural landscape for some of those larger lots and properties across Sonoma County. If you know someone with a lot of land, make sure you share this with them because there's a lot of great resources and ideas that Genevieve will be sharing with us today. Please put any questions you have into the chat. We will go through them at the end of the presentation. With that, I'll turn it over to Genevieve.
Thanks so much, Ben. And thanks to the Fire Safe Sonoma team for the invite. I will share my screen with you and hopefully you can all see it. Let's see. Okay. Perfect. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Genevieve Tarino, and I'm a forestry project manager at the Sonoma Resource Conservation District. My role is pretty diverse. I help folks both prepare forest management plans, work on larger regional stewardship plans, and in addition to that, work towards implementation of a lot of these fuel reduction projects. I also help provide technical assistance, financial assistance, and really do hope to and try to engage with the local community to improve their forest land. So for those of you unfamiliar, let me see, is this blocking you guys? Oh no. Whoops. That was a mistake. Now I just see myself. I'm sorry. Okay. Can you still see my screen?
We have you.
Yeah, we
Oh,
can see the screen. We can see it.
okay. Let's try that again. Okay, sorry about that. So for those of you unfamiliar with resource conservation districts, we are non-regulatory, independent special districts of the state. And with that, we have quite a few privileges that other agencies in this area don't. As I'd mentioned, I'd like to emphasize again, we are non-regulatory, and our mission really is to serve the landowners of Sonoma County. We do have a sister district called Gold Ridge Resource Conservation District that focuses in on West County, but we do collaborate quite often and work on a lot of these regional programs together. So RCDs are critical organizations, especially like those in Sonoma County. We help facilitate relationships with landowners, tribes, conservation organizations, other RCDs, local, state, and federal government agencies. And we do have a close relationship with the Natural Resource Conservation Service, which is a federal agency under the USDA. So for those who aren't familiar with our history, we really were formed as a grassroots organizations by ranchers and farmers in 1946. Our 80th anniversary actually is this year, and we'll be celebrating that. But it's just to say that this was started by the community for the community, and that is still our mission today. And just to get a sense of our boundaries, you can see Sonoma County outlined in red. This section here, I hope you can see my pointer, but if not, the smaller section in the west is Gold Ridge's district, and the rest is Sonoma RCD. But we do serve both, as we have one registered professional forester on staff, so he provides assistance to the entire county. So some of our forestry services specifically, and then I'll go into and transition into some of our others, including agriculture, water, and soil. So we provide both technical assistance and education services. So any landowner in the county who would like a technical assistance, site visit, phone call, email, whatever they're looking for, we can provide that for free. Oftentimes landowners will call us out in preparation for an application to a grant or incentives program. If they have just general questions as to what to do, there's really plenty of reasons you might want to call us out, and also invite some of our other specialists at the RCD who focus more on water, salmonid habitat, soil health, that sort of thing. In addition to that, we do workshops and educational events. Oftentimes we'll have Firewise or Fire Safe Council communities come approach us to put on a workshop for them about really any topic that they're interested in, and that's something we can provide to you as well. In addition to the technical assistance education, we do provide financial assistance as well. Excuse me. In addition to our cost share program that allows for land smart planning, which covers everything from forest management plans to carbon farm plans, grazing plans, we also do help administer the North Bay Forest Improvement Program, which I'll get into more detail soon. But suffice it to say that this is a regional incentives program for forest landowners specifically in the North Bay to improve forest health. So that can mean a whole different slew of things, and we'll go over that. In addition to that, because we are a special district, we can serve as a lead under the California Environmental Quality Act. So that puts us at a pretty big advantage and leg up. So, when you think about preparing grant applications, sometimes it is advantageous to have us serve as a lead or to work on permitting. In addition to that, we do grant writing, so we can also collaborate with your community or group to assist in larger project development if it aligns with larger regional or county-wide goals. And as I'd mentioned, land smart planning. We do a significant amount of planning at the RCD. It spans from forest land to agricultural lands. We could think vineyards, small specialty farms, things like that, and then grazing too. That has become something, cooperative grazing plans, that sort of thing that is being offered. Other services, it's a lot. So I'm not going to go through all of these, and I will provide this presentation to anybody who would like it, so you can review these in more detail. But for folks who have more than just forest land on their property, there is a whole variety of different services that we can provide to you, and a number of technical experts who specialize. So let's see, some other things that we have commonly done is rainwater storage tanks, more recently working on fuels to flow projects. We will help with different, vineyard management, soil health amendments, biochar, general best management practices for road improvements, that sort of thing. So lots of different things that we offer. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me also mention engineering. We do have an engineer on staff, and she works on project design, engineering support, construction oversight, all that sort of thing. So, diving into some of the land stewardship assistance programs that are available to you. And I'm starting with the North Bay Forest Improvement Program, one in part because it is partially administered through the Sonoma RCD. So I help run this program, but it is a regional initiative that covers Lake Mendocino, Napa, Sonoma, and what am I missing? Lake Mendocino, Napa, Sonoma. I think I've got them all. Brain. Um, so those counties are all eligible, landowners are eligible to apply for this program. And I'll go over some of the benefits and what makes this different and distinct from other programs through the federal government or the CAL FIRE. But we'll start with this one because we actually have an application batch coming up. So to start off, the North Bay Forest Improvement Program is a cost share incentives program for small non-industrial landowners in this region. So what is small defined as in this program? Well, that's anyone with ownership less than 5,000 acres. So folks who also have non-industrial timber management plans, things like that, folks who have harvested, does not outright mean that you have an industrial property and you're not ineligible to participate. This just means that it's not, zoned specifically for timber harvesting or whatever else. So it is designed, like I said, for private non-industrial forest land owners. And it is funded through CAL FIRE's Wildfire Resilience and Forestry Assistance Grant. Conservation Works is the actual lead of this program, and everything kind of filters down from them. So they are the ones who kind of steer this truck. And the Sonoma RCD, Goldridge RCD, Mendocino RCD, Napa RCD, and the Clear Lake Environmental Research Center all work to help support this program. Okay, so the program goals are to reduce the vegetative fuel loads and risk from wildfire, reduce insect infestation, and reduce disease epidemics. We recognize that in this county specifically, we're seeing a lot of sudden oak death emerge. In addition to that, we're seeing Mediterranean oak borer, gold-spotted oak borer as well. So this is something commonly we see in post-wildfire landscapes, the prevalence and increase in population in these pests that actually feed off of the dead wood and dying fuel that's out there. The program intent is to increase the pace, scale, and effectiveness of forest treatments in the North Bay, recognizing that cost is often the greatest limiting factor to implementation. So there's two main categories of NBFIP projects that you can apply for. The first is forest management plan development, and the second is implementation. The majority of the section will talk about implementation, but I'll briefly go over the forest management plan component. So through NBFIP, you can apply to develop a forest management plan with a registered professional forester. The reasons you might seek out a forest management plan include legacy planning, desire to learn more about your property conditions, having a professional recommend certain treatments and a maintenance schedule for you. There are numerous reasons people obtain one, but the biggest one I will say is that having a forest management plan in place makes you eligible for certain cost share incentives programs. And in other contexts, it can give you a leg up in priority in terms of where projects will occur. Folks like to see that there has been dedicated study and planning of a piece of land and with clear objectives and goals of the landowner outlined. That makes our jobs a bit easier when we understand what is going on there and who's responsible for it. So for the forest management plan application through NBFIP, it has to be submitted by a registered professional forester. You as a landowner cannot submit it. And if you need contacts of folks, registered professional foresters in this region available to prepare these management plans, just feel free to reach out. It's also on our website. and there is a link to that later on in the presentation if you're searching for it. Um, but in addition to NBFIP, you can also solicit a forest management plan through the Sonoma RCD. I know it's not listed on here, but we offer cost share as well, in which we ask the landowner to cover approximately 15% of the normal rate, going rate of a management plan. So that comes out to about $1,500. Usually takes us about a year to write. And we do have a backlog. So NBFIP is a great alternative if you are on our waiting list and are itching to get a little bit further ahead on a faster pace. So besides the NBFIP projects, forest management plans, I'm sure what a lot of people have heard about are the implementation applications. And that's the bulk of where our work happens. So implementation is just what it sounds like. It's actually getting these fuel load reduction and forest health treatments on the ground. So we have what we call a cap rate sheet. And this is a link to it when you have the presentation. And it will display all of the different practices available and the 3 different rates that you can apply to. There's a 40% reduced rate, a 60% regular, and an 80% for those who are zoned in a disadvantaged or severely disadvantaged community. So just some like higher overview, higher level stuff. NBFIP is similar to other cost share incentives programs that you've probably encountered. Some different major differences is that one, it is a 1-year contract to do all of the work that you've applied for. The second is that you have no obligation to hire a contractor. You are allowed to do the work yourself if that's how you would prefer to do it, but you can also hire that contractor, and the RCDs do not provide oversight or bidding assistance with that. That's all on you to figure out. Um, and it is important to note that the next application batch opens this July 8th and closes on August 5th. So if you are interested in applying and you have a good project idea, I would say submit that or reach out to me. I can provide you with any sort of technical or mapping assistance that you might need. But please understand that this will be our last batching period for the foreseeable future as we try to acquire additional funds from CAL FIRE. Um, so this round will be, I would expect to be especially competitive. So I would say if you are interested in applying, reach out to me or your local RCD. I'm sure if you are in Gold Ridge's district, it might be appropriate to reach out to Adriana, whose contact I can provide. But I would suggest that you consult with us before submitting an application this round. So eligibility, as I've said, non-industrial small forest owners, properties have to be between 5 and 5,000 acres. Sorry, that is a typo there. 5 and 5,000 acres, and your project has to be greater than 1 acre. That's the only requirement there. Applicants who can actually afford the treatment. So we do not reimburse for the work until after everything is done. So if you cannot afford to pay your contractor back in that 1-year term in which the contract runs and then we come back for verification, then we do not recommend that you participate in this program. And the last thing is applicants who have not already received funding through Proposition 68 for forest improvements. That includes California Forest Improvement Program since 2018. Let's see. Yeah, so this is kind of going into less of the eligibility, but more of priority criteria. We do award additional points to people who have a forest management plan already prepared. It's a significant amount of points in our ranking system. So, like I said, this really just demonstrates to us that there's been a concerted effort to plan these treatments rather than kind of a last-ditch, one-size-fits-all approach to your land. The practices that we offer include everything from reforestation, thinning, mastication, pile burning, and more recently, we've added a practice to deal with some of the larger diameter dead and dying trees. Most notably, the ones that I think about are the Douglas firs that have been burned up in the fires and it did not survive. A good fit for implementation is an applicant who's committed to sustainable management of the forest land, somebody who has developed a forest management plan or a similar planning document, somebody who would not be able to afford these treatments without the incentive payment. And we give additional priority and ranking points to properties that fall within a disadvantaged or severely disadvantaged community. And if you would like to view that map, there is a link I can provide to see whether or not your property falls within that. So to get to some of the actual practices, one of the most commonly sought after ones is called timber stand improvement, and there's several different iterations of this practice. We have everything from small stem thinning, which includes trees under 4 inches diameter. Then we go up to large, which goes from 4 to 8 inches in diameter. We have a practice related to oak woodland enhancement and restoration. This one is really focused on removing encroaching Douglas firs from oak woodlands. So whereas we have a diameter limit for these other thinning practices, those Douglas firs can be up to 16 inches in diameter, and those are eligible to remove. In addition, there are frilling practices, mastication, and understory removal and ladder fuel reduction. And the intent here really is to increase spacing, reduce ladder fuels, and pretty much eliminate the possibility of a fire going from the ground to the canopy. In addition to that, improving space and habitat and reducing the prevalence of insect and disease. Follow-up slash is a common practice that is paired with timber stand improvement. Once those materials have actually come down on the ground, you have the option to kind of lop and scatter it, but most folks, given the wildfire risk, are less comfortable with that option. So follow-up slash is it's a good idea to perhaps add to that because it includes piling and burning, chipping or masticating, or just piling. So you can see in these photos, and all the photos in this part of the presentation were taken from actually completed NB-FIT projects. But you see those burn piles have been completely gone, and some folks, especially in areas that they cannot access well, or maybe it's just not a priority, they ran out of time, they simply just pile them. And that's a good way to rearrange the fuel load and ensure that a fire, if it were to ignite or be introduced to your property, would not cause catastrophic damage. For those properties that have already been damaged by wildfire, reforestation is often a popular option. So we provide cost share for both acquiring the seedlings, planting them, caging them, and installing tree cages. So each of these are a different practice that you would apply to, depending on the needs of your forest. And we don't have restrictions as to the types of trees that you order, as long as they are native, appropriate to the site, and they are sourced from a CAL FIRE approved nursery. And if you are interested in something like that, I do have resources to provide to guide you through that process. But this, you can see here, this is a post-wall bridge burn. There had been significant efforts post-fuel reduction to restore the redwood. And I wish I had a more recent photo because it has been quite successful thus far. But you can see all the devastation in the background and some of the kind of messed up redwoods over there. So moving on from the North Bay Forest Improvement Program, and before I do move on from it, I think it's probably important for me to mention that North Bay Forest Improvement Program is adjusted from existing incentives programs, or it was really kind of modeled after what has existed through the state and the federal government. But the cost of the rates, the cap rates have been adjusted for the cost of work in the North Bay. So we do offer higher rates for most, if not all, practices than these other incentive programs, recognizing that both crews, fuel, mobilization, all sorts of things tends to cost a lot more here, especially in areas of poor access. So that's something to keep in mind too. It is competitive. We do not have as much funding as other programs do, but I would suggest that if you are interested in participating in something like this, try to work with your neighbors, because that gives you an additional advantage in your scoring. Try to select the lower incentive rate, the 40% if possible, if you can afford that. And there's a few other things that you can do to make it a more appealing project to us as the funder. But feel free to reach out at any time if you want to discuss what you can do or how to put this application together. And once again, just curb your expectations for this upcoming round, seeing as it will be a bit of a smaller pool of funding available, and we imagine a lot more applicants. Um, the hope and the expectation is we will receive additional funding from CAL FIRE to continue this program in perpetuity. So keep your fingers crossed. Now, the next program I'm going to touch on is a federal program that is run by the Natural Resource Conservation Service. Actually, there's two programs under NRCS that I'll discuss. And for those unfamiliar, the NRCS is a federal agency under the United States Department of Agriculture. They offer a ton of different practices to, once again, private non-industrial landowners. Um, and let's dive in. So the one that I've heard most folks talk about in this area is called the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. So the purpose of, or EQIP, that's what a lot of people call, is a shorthand. The purpose is to provide technical assistance and cost share funding to help private landowners implement conservation projects on working lands and non-industrial private forests. So EQIP can help folks address a whole slew of different natural resource concerns. Everything from, restoration of wetlands to forest habitat improvement to culvert replacements. There's a whole lot of things that you can apply for through this program that goes far beyond the forest. So it's something to keep in mind in general, because there are a lot of different opportunities and options for you to benefit from this. Um, and the scope is that it provides financial and technical assistance to private landowners. And unlike the North Bay Forest Improvement Program, you will work with somebody at the NRCS office directly to develop and put together your application. So it's a little bit of a different process, whereas with NBFIP, you can just submit your implementation application by yourself. Um, for EQIP as well, you do have an advantage if you have a forest management plan already developed. I'm told that it is not explicitly a prerequisite. I'm still not 100% sure if it is. My understanding is that it provides a significant number of additional points in your ranking if you have one, similar to North Bay Forest Improvement Program. Eligibility. So, like I said, owners of non-industrial private forest land, farms, ranches, landowners with eligible agricultural or forestry operations can apply. An important consideration is that landowners with adjusted gross incomes greater than $90,000 a year are ineligible to apply. And that is very confusing on the slide, so I apologize for that. Um, Landowners with a forest management plan, like I said, not sure if that's explicitly required, but from what it seems like, it is highly, highly encouraged. And the fortunate thing about EQIP is there's no acreage limits, and selection is based on resource concern and feasibility of the project. So, they will take access into consideration. They will take priority of the project into consideration. And then you will work directly with NRCS throughout the process. And my understanding is that you can hire a crew or do the work yourself as well, but I think most commonly folks hire crews. And let's go there. Equip activities. Some practices related to forestry include pre-commercial thinning and commercial thinning, fuel load reduction, ladder fuel removal, slash treatment and biomass disposal, invasive plant management, tree and shrub planting, forest management plan development, road and erosion control improvements, and wildlife habitat enhancement. So, like I said, there's a lot of different opportunities when you participate in this program. Excuse me. And similar to NBFIP, you can apply to develop a forest management plan through this program. So, as you probably already can tell, there's a lot of parallels because we kind of copy and pasted to some degree of the EQIP program. Because if it isn't broke, you don't have to fix it. Um, So let's see the application and implementation. So like I said, work with your local NRCS office to apply to create a conservation plan, and that'll be the basis for your implementation. It'll outline treatments based on what your objectives are, but also what NRCS's priorities for treatment are. So it'll be a little bit of a balance there. Applications are accepted on a rolling basis, but are reviewed in batching periods. The next batching period that I could find will be on January 15th, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I say if you get a head start now working with NRCS, developing that project, having those discussions, then you'll be all ready by that time that batching period opens. And contracts are typically 3 to 5 years, but can go up to 10. So that's a stark contrast to the MBFIP program, which has a 1 year contract. And I understand too, with the EQUIP program, there is the expectation and responsibility to maintain the work that has been done. Whereas with MBFIP, we trust that you will continue stewarding, but we will not be coming back to check on it. Let's see, EQUIP. Just make sure how I'm doing on time. Okay. Um, so for the Conservation Stewardship Program, which is a separate program, but also under the NRCS, this in cost share incentives program is more focused on ongoing conservation stewardship on working lands. So this is paying landowners for maintaining existing practices and adopting additional enhancements that improve environmental performance over time. So if you have already been a dedicated land steward who has been working to improve their property, this could be an option for you. I would think that it would it'd be ideal to be rewarded for the work that you've already been doing. So this could be potentially a great source of extra funding. Um, the 5 year program applies to private agricultural and non-industrial forest lands nationwide and focused on a like EQUIP program as well, a whole bunch of different practices and resources. So everything from soil health to water quality, wildlife habitat, forest resilience, climate adaptation, and provides both that technical and financial assistant component. So the eligibility is private agricultural lands or non-industrial forest land, having existing conservation practices already in place. And unfortunately, I am less familiar with this program, so I'm not sure if those conservation practices have to be those documented by NRCS staff or not. That's certainly something I plan to look into, but your local NRCS office representative will be able to answer that for you. And they must meet a minimum stewardship threshold for at least one concern, including water, oil, air, plants, animals, or energy. And those with an adjusted gross income of less than or equal to $900,000 a year are eligible to apply. And once again, there is no minimum acreage to participate. And yeah, so certain activities that are being offered um, include fuel reduction and stand improvement, prescribed grazing and grazing management, riparian and water quality protection, invasive species control, wildlife habitat improvements, soil health and erosion control practices, and water use efficiency upgrades. And as I've said before, like just like EQUIP, this is a program where you're going to work more intimately with your NRCS representative to develop your both conservation plan and then the project that you'll be implementing all together. Contract term is 5 years. Applications are accepted on a rolling basis, but are only reviewed in 1 to 2 batching periods a year. I'm also uncertain of when that next batching period will be, but my assumption would be probably January as well. And there are no requirements to hire a contractor. So if you'd like to do the work yourself and are capable of that within the contract term, then you certainly can do so. And the last program I'll discuss today, and I'm hoping, okay, still good on time, is the California Forest Improvement Program, which I know some folks on the call have participated in before. And this program is run through CAL FIRE, so it is through the state. The purpose and scope is to encourage private and public investment in and improve management of California forest lands and resources. So it includes the improvement of all forest resources, which includes fish and wildlife habitat and soil and water quality. It's a cost share program, just like the others mentioned, and it is for private and public ownerships containing 20 to 5,000 acres of forest land. So that's a little bit different from the NBFIP, in which there is a 5 acre minimum. But with EQIP and CSP, there are no acreage. So just to keep that in mind, CFIP has a 20 acre minimum. Eligibility includes private individuals, businesses, public agencies with projects that focus on improving forest health, watershed function, and wildfire resilience. So very similar objectives and goals to the North Bay Forest Improvement Program. The difference being is that it is on a state level. So activities that are offered, just like pretty much all the other ones, preparation of a forest management plan by a registered professional forester. So you can apply to this program if, once again, if you're on the Sonoma RCD's waiting list, or if you can't quite afford the cost of a regular forest management plan through a consulting forester, then this is another option for you. Um, in addition to the FMPs, there are implementation practices that include pre-commercial thinning or release, pruning, follow-up slash practices that can span from mastication to herbicide treatment to pile burning. And the next emphasis really is reforestation. So site preparation, trees and planting, and tree shelters as well. So this is another program to consider if, say, you have a large swath of area that has been denuded by wildfire or has been damaged heavily by pests and pathogens. This could be a way to restore that habitat in a cost-effective manner and under the guidance and help of a technical professional who can help you determine what the most appropriate trees are for the site or how to manage that reforestation and reestablishment. So the application implementation, it is recommended to contact your local CAL FIRE Forestry Assistant Specialist, or FAS, for assistance with your application. So similar to the NRCS, this is one that you'll work with the employee a little bit closer than you would with North Bay Forest Improvement Program. This program receives funding from a variety of state and federal sources, so the requirements do tend to change depending on the funding source available. Right now, there is $2 million available per solicitation period. The solicitation periods for this year, I suppose we already passed January 2nd and April 1st, but the next upcoming one will be October 1st. And if you are awarded, you have 3 years to complete your project, and you must maintain your project for up to 10 years. So, my understanding is that a lot of folks have applied to CFIP in the past for reforestation, and it makes sense that there would be that long of a maintenance requirement to make sure that those trees have established. Um, and I blew through that, but there's a little bit more information. We are very fortunate in Sonoma County to have a whole bunch of different organizations that work on these forest health improvements, fuel load reduction, and just generally conservation and natural resource stewardship. Um, I figured it would be helpful to mention a few of them. As I've said before, Gold Ridge RCD is a resource to you all. I mean, they focus in on the Gold Ridge West County section of Sonoma, but they're still available to help. The Sonoma County Agricultural Preservation and Open Space District is also a fantastic resources, both with their conservation working group, which is right below here, with their educational programming and all sorts of different things. And they occasionally offer financial support as well. There's the Sonoma Land Trust, All Hands Ecology, and Fire Forward. Um, Pepperwood Preserve, Sonoma Ecology Center. I'm sure you have heard of a lot of these different names. And what I did exclude here that's worth mentioning is what's known as the Good Fire Alliance, and that is our local prescribed burn Prescribed Burn Association, which is a mutual aid network to help both practitioners and landowners learn and exchange about reintroducing good fire to the land. So if you have interest in applying prescribed fire to your property or just getting involved and educating yourself about it, the Good Fire Alliance is a great place to start. And that is currently being housed or aided by the community engagement specialist at the Sonoma RCD. So if you'd like to get involved with that, reach out and I'll put you in contact with her. Her name is Patty Aaron, and she's awesome. And then I just provided links to these four different programs. And obviously, there's a lot of funding that floats around, at least in terms of grants. As I've mentioned earlier in the presentation, we are an organization that can help you with grant writing efforts, but what we're looking for oftentimes is something that is project ready, something that you've already thought about. There has been discussions with local fire chiefs. There have been discussions with your neighborhood, your local firewise community. And if you're, not even sure where to start, that's also a great reason to approach us and work with us. We can help you with your firewise community, your fire safe council, your roads association, whatever other sorts of community organization that may need this assistance or may need guidance as to how to get to a place of recognizing that there is an issue and a accumulation of dangerous woody fuel to getting to the point of actual implementation. So that's a role that the Sonoma RCD plays. So we can walk you through all of that. And then once you have a project that is up to snuff and something that we think could potentially be funded, either we could pursue these cost share incentives programs, or occasionally we'll go for larger grants to serve a landscape level kind of project. So yeah, that's my spiel. Like I said, my name is Genevieve Tarino. This is my email here, and I'm going to update this presentation a little bit with some more contact information so that you can reach out to me via phone or some folks at Goldridge or whoever else. But I just want to put it out there that you can reach out anytime, even if you have a quick question about, what is this bug on my tree? That's fine too. You can do that. Um, so thank you. Yeah. And with that, I'm going to, oh goodness, is that working? Okay, probably let's go to the chat. I think we have about 15 minutes. So we'll start there. Oh, I am not seeing any questions. So if you have any now, feel free to ask.
Jenny and Claire, anything you're seeing online?
I just added something. Chris, this is Chris.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. As they process through that, the takeaway that I'd love to leave the crowd with today is that so many times it gets confused as these are available to large landowners, but as you caught in the presentation today, it's as low as 5 acres and maybe 20 if you're doing the state side. So while it's larger than your typical residential lot here in the Santa Rosa Plain, especially when you get out to Chris and Carolyn's neck of the woods out on the coast and Rocky, obviously those parcels open up. So it is definitely a resource for communities that are trying to look at that landscape level treatment and trying to daisy chain together those individual property owners to maybe something that's a larger, strategically important project for wildfire resiliency in the community, as well as the fire control folks when they're fighting those future wildfires.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ben.
Looks like we're trying to get Chris's question here. Chris, if you just want, oh, there we go.
So unclear on how to do this.
Nope,
Yeah, we
all
see it
good.
now.
So the
So
question, Genevieve, looks like, oh, I had it and then it went away. Man, this is one of those days. Uh, if you can see it, go for it.
Yeah. So the question I'm saying is, would the Sonoma Resource Conservation District help a group of property owners plan a grant application schedule for the next few years? This would include predicting the grant programs that may be obtaining more funding in the next few years. The group of property owners would be responsible for organizing their participants with a firm agreement for participation. This way, the group could do early preparation for a number of projects and a number of grant opportunities. Um, I would like to say yes, but I think that would be optimistic to say that we would be able to plan out more than a year or two of what we could potentially aid you with. Um, it is a good question. It's not one I've been asked before, but let's see. A grant application schedule for the next few years. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say, Chris, that a great starting point is the forest management plan. So if the individual property owners haven't gotten the forest management plans, that's really the spot to start that anchor point to move into that greater project. Because without that, you're potentially not as competitive for the other grants downstream. So you're identifying the resources around the property, what your management goals are, and then once you have that, you can move forward. And I know that Coast Ridge Community Forest was big into getting a bunch of management plans put together last year, 2 years ago. So if Central Coast hasn't gone down that road yet, maybe that's a great opportunity to bring in our RCD partners and others to talk about forest management plans on the coast out there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ben. And I think what the approach has been for a lot of folks at this point is rather than chasing the grants, it's to have those projects already developed, thought out, mapped, the discussions already had with the appropriate officials and community members, and essentially make it shovel ready such that when grants come out, we are ready to apply. And each grant is different with a specific focus. So, we could start planning. But I mean, to plan for a specific grant to come out in that way may not be the best approach. So yeah, the recommendation would be have those projects already developed and thought through, and then work with the RCD or other organizations to put the actual application together, serve as the lead agency, whatever else, um, rather than, yeah, chase what could be coming out down the line. The second question here I'm seeing. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
I was just gonna say one other deal, because on the second part of the question, or maybe that's what you were gonna hit, Genevieve, but the other part of the conversation about developing that project is depending on what you're developing the project for, right? So if it's specifically enhancing the ecosystem and natural resources, then absolutely, the RCDs are your route to go. If you're looking at what you can do to create that wildfire resilience in the community, I would absolutely start with Chief Warner and his folks there in Timber Cove, Chief Breyer up on North Sonoma Coast, to make sure that you're bringing in your fire officials early to help them help you with that greater project footprint.
Thank you. Yeah, and the second part of Chris's question is, would the Sonoma RCD help a group of property owners in the coastal zone determine a 5 year or so plan to meet coastal commission requirements? Um, I don't see why not. If you provide us with a little bit more guidance as to what requirements exactly you're talking about, what treatments you're looking to do, and what your constraints are, I'm certain that we could organize something to help that group.
So what I'm thinking is, if we have a few years, maybe we should develop the coastal, what's it called that they like, the coastal
Coastal
development
development
plan?
permit.
The coastal development plan, I think it is. Maybe we should just bite the bullet and start doing that. Um,
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with that, so I'd have to look into it, but I think that could be a viable option. I'll let Ben chime in. I'm sure you've had more experience with the Coastal Commission than me.
Chris, I think that's a great question downstream. That factors into one of the compliance components to get you to actual implementation. But as far as identifying to Genevieve's point about what it is you want to do, those are the conversations before you figure out what permit, what sort of exemptions or permissions you're going to look for. And that's where, Chief Warner and his team will be able to help you figure out what that ask might look like.
Thank you. Thanks.
And the closer that you work with these agencies, organizations, fire departments, the more favorable it's going to be for you when you do submit an application. Having the support of the people on the ground who are developing these pods or whatever else, and identifying priority areas for treatment, only bolster your argument for funding. Any other questions?
This was announced kind of late, and so I think the attendance plus the end of June is less than ideal here. I almost wish that you'd come back again in the fall, Genevieve.
I'm happy to come back whenever. But understand, I mean, it's a beautiful day. I don't blame people.
But I didn't know about it until a day ago. So
Well, the great news, Chris, is that this will be on our YouTube channel, so you can absolutely go back and review it at any point in time. And please feel free to share with your neighbors, because this is one of those things that this is the idea of the speaker series, right? Being able to get information to everybody at their convenience to be able to steward their lands and help create that wildfire resilience here in the county.
yeah, we need to have a film festival of these things. People come and watch them.
I like it. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions coming up, thank you very much, Genevieve, for joining us today. Let us know if you'd like a copy of her presentation. Like she mentioned, she's going to take a time to get some of those links honed in for you. So that'll be coming here soon. But with that, we'll see you next month on Thursday, July 23rd at 2 p.m. for our next presentation for alert warning and evacuations as we get deeper into fire season 2026. So once again, please let us know if there's any topics you would like us to hit in the future by using the survey or in the chat, and contact us through our website for anything else that you're looking for. With that, have a great afternoon, and we'll see you soon.